Hey everyone, welcome to our topic on private money lending today.
Good to see you.
We'll be getting started here in a little bit, but yeah, just
Hi, Barbara.
grab a seat, recognize the sheet.
I think I've seen you before.
Pretty soon to check out all
We're doing our first Facebook Live at one of our Meetup events. We figured this is a big one and enough people in the room that might want to watch a recording. So we're going to go ahead and just set you up in the corner and let you observe what one of our essential organ investor network meetups looks like, and today's topic being private money lending. Enjoy, guys.
Yeah, it's just a process.
water's like down to
Let's have a big call where we get the engineering guys on the phone and we're gonna walk you through this and we'll set up the portal together and we'll register the project together. You know, so it's like, makes it easy for me. So, yeah, good. How about you? Have you made any decisions?
No, I'm still just. Thank you for moving my hair. That room's getting really warm this summer.
I think we're expecting some people. They're good. It's going really good. We're trying our first Facebook Live with this event too, so we'll see how this goes. Something like that. Good. I'll start grabbing some more seats. Yeah. No, it's whatever you want to do, Pete. This is your home too. So.
What's your name again? Christy, I'm John.
John. Where am I going? Yeah?
we may have more people filtering in online and in the office, but I'm going to get us rolling because we almost always go over time. One of our things, we just have a lot of info to share and we love these meetings. And,
Dropped everything.
so yeah,
How are you
I'm
doing?
going to try to manage
Good, thanks
all
to
these
you.
things while we do this. If anyone sees something pop up there that says someone's asking to be admitted, just raise your hand and swipe the computer and I'll admit that. Welcome to Private Money Lending 101. Yeah, it's been a fun journey for me to learn about this over the last year and excited to share it all with you. And I think most of you have been with us before. Real Realtors here, Realty One Group Discovery. This is our beautiful office where all the magic happens with Sarah and I. And we also have the Central Oregon Investor Network, which is really meant to bring all of us together. That's what we do here, and we just love connecting with other investors and like seeing you guys do deals together. So Brady brought us a deal, 3 weeks ago, and now Justin's buying it. You know, so it's just like such a cool way to bring people together and create synergies and help each other. Our goal, our mission at the Central Oregon Investor Network is to help people create more freedom in their lives through passive income from real estate investments, and that's really my personal mission for myself. So I was telling a few of you, I just got back from Baja, Mexico. That's where I like to spend my winters because I'm just not hardy enough for living in the winter. But yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to do, and so I'm living this life and learning so that then I can share and teach other people, and hopefully it works for you, some of it, and yeah, we'll see what resonates. But QR code here, both for those of you online and in here. Multiple people want to do it as well. Okay, love it. Thank you. If you want to snap the QR code, that will get you on our weekly top text email list. So that's where Sarah and I, and this is Sarah. This is Sarah, who also makes the magic happen. Sarah Willis. We're business partners. We're in this together. We're both investors too. So learning, more things so that we can share and help other people. But yeah, so we scour the market here in Central Oregon, even in places like Klamath Falls and other places, and we try to find the best deals. Are they always the greatest? No, but we put them out there to you. We write our own content. We don't just copy paste what's on the MLS, but we share it out every single week, and it's a labor of love we've been doing for 3 years now. And we've sold a ton of properties that we have listed on here because there are good deals out there, and sometimes we have off-market deals, and generally those get funneled to the people we know are most active, but sometimes they also end up on the email list. So that's where you will find out about future events. We've got a full lineup for the whole year. We do this every single month. The third Thursday at the third Thursday of every month at noon, even on Juneteenth. So thank you for those who are joining us on what may be for you also a holiday. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive in. Private money lending. Our agenda, we're just gonna talk about why you might want to consider lending, either as your sole investment strategy, like maybe you just don't have the time or patience to be buying real estate and doing all the things, or maybe it's in combination with, maybe you're at a different, phase of the journey of real estate investing, and I think, at least for myself, it's been more passive aspect of my real estate investing. So we'll talk about why you lend, how to get started, and we'll look at some deals as well. I want to make sure you look at some, the criteria, the terms, you understand a little bit about private money lending, how to protect your capital. That's the biggest thing, right? Private money lending can be seen by some as like the absolute safest investment you can make because you have control and you get to determine your terms. And for other people, it's like, whew, super scary, I'm out, So we want to talk to you about how to bridge the gap between those two points of view. And then Sarah and I have started an education company. It's called Primo. P-R-I, private, M-O, money, Primo. So we'll talk about what we are doing and how we're helping people to really get into this in a way that helps you skip over the learning curve, that I've been going through the last year, and get you right into lending if that's your goal. So then we'll talk about some action steps. So we love doing our intros, but we have so much content, you guys, that I might just do a quick raise of hands. Everyone in the room, obviously, you're from the Bend, Central Oregon area, yeah? Online, if you all can just put in the chat where you're from, that would be super awesome. Just so that the rest of us know where you're from, and we'll start reading out who's from where. But yeah, we have a lot of people. I know Marianne just joined. She's a fellow Bendite who also has a house in Baja, so welcome, Marianne. But yeah, just would love to see from you all who here has a 9-to-5 job, a traditional job where you get a regular paycheck. Yeah, okay. And is anyone here currently lending? So Dave, tell me your name again. Barbara. Sean.
I got a deal for you.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, there's deals in this room. And then Josh. Okay, awesome. So it's great because what we talk about a lot in this group is we all have different roles to play, and sometimes our roles shift. Like, Justin might be a lender next time, but right now he's a borrower. So our roles shift, and it's fun to just get to know other people. So we've got someone from Portland, Liz Bichotto, great to see you. John from Bend. Anyone else that's on, would love to just see where you're from. But for some of the new folks, I would love to just hear a little bit about your story, if you don't mind. So we'll start with you.
Sure. My name is Jenny Hansen with Simplicity by Hayden Homes, and this was just a personal interest of mine as well as wanting to join the Central Oregon Investor Network, and I've been with Simplicity for just a little over a year. But obviously, we work, the department that I'm in specifically, business development, we work with investors, developers, community land trusts to essentially let them have the same scale and pricing as our parent company homes. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent. And do you have any investments yet? Any investment?
I do not.
Okay.
Like I said, personal interest,
Yeah.
thinking about retirement and wanting that passive income to learn a little bit more.
Yes. So good.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Sean, I haven't seen you before.
I'm Sean Brennan, I'm with Southern Funding.
He brings the cookies to the office all the
Oh
time.
my gosh, I've totally seen you before.
I'm just getting my first on the blocks
That's right.
in a small mortgage lender, but I also got a little bit of private lending that I've done and investment properties I've been in as well. So I was looking for, I just actually found private money for a customer of mine to bail her out of something right now. So interested in learning more about private money.
Yes, we love lenders that get creative like that. That's awesome.
Grant, yeah, I was here last month.
Oh, you were, okay.
I'm Grant Overholzer. I do a little bit of short-term rental and long-term rental real estate in the area, and I recently left my 9-to-5 job to kind of focus on growing our business here locally. So.
Sweet. Yeah, I missed you last time. I don't know where I was. Yeah, so well, glad to have you. And then Josh and your son.
I'm Josh Law, I live here. I quit my 9-to-5 job 9 years ago to hang out with my kids and force them to play Casual Connection. And so we've been doing that. I said that I do lending, but not in the private lending sense that you guys probably think of like hard money. I mostly buy notes, and then I have some long-term rentals because I don't know anybody who's happy with short-term rentals.
I'm pretty
Yeah. We know some people. We can introduce you to some people.
We actually, in August, we were going to have an STR optimization expert come in and talk to us about, she turned my business around. Like, I looked at my June, you guys, I have 1 day of occupancy.
Woo!
And it's incredible. So, anyways.
1 day of vacancy.
Vacancy.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes. 1 day of
I knew what you meant. You wouldn't have
occupancy.
We all measure success differently.
And what's your name?
My name is Atticus Lau, son of Josh Lau, and I have basically no experience, and I'm looking to get into long-term buy and hold real estate investment.
Awesome.
So good. Way to start young.
Excellent. All right. Well, Liz, we haven't seen you on here before. Will you just tell us a little bit about you? Wait, hang on, Liz.
Wait, Liz.
Wait. Volume. Did you volume? There we go. Okay.
All right,
Will you
talk to
start
us,
over?
Liz.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
I am not currently I have had rental properties in the past, but I'm just right now just gathering information and I'm excited to hear.
Super. Glad you're here. All right. And then Greg Larson. If you're talking, you're on mute. Oh, hello. Oh, okay. If you can't talk, maybe you're at work. That's totally fine. Yeah, just wanted to get to know you, but if that doesn't work, that's fine. What about John H. from Bennett?
Hello,
Hi.
you hear me?
Yeah.
I've been there a couple times. Single family home investor, did have some syndications, did some private money lending through syndications. Quit my 9-to-5 a few months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and then Marianne, welcome. Fun to see you on here.
Hey, thank you so much. Don't have a 9-to-5. I work remote, and it is. I have 1 long-term rental, and that's about it right at the moment.
Yeah. Are you doing a furnished midterm with that one? Or no?
No,
Okay.
our place is our midterm one, and I didn't need, because again, word of mouth, I have so far been able to do midterm just by people knowing that we're gone all winter.
Nice, yes. Hanging out in Baja a lot, so.
Yeah.
Fun. Well, thanks for joining, Marianne. It's so fun to have friendly faces.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Here and online. Sweet.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing before Suzanne moves on. Anybody who's online in the chat, we have a sign-ins sheet here where we're collecting information that we will share on our private Facebook group after this for anyone who wants to exchange. So if you have contact information or business or whatever it is that you want to share about yourself in the chat online, please go ahead and just put that in there and we will share it with our network so you can exchange info.
Yeah, and that's part of the fun of this too, is like getting you all connected so you can do deals together, like Justin Brady. So, okay, well, most of you know my story, but I'll just go through it quickly. I worked at Adidas and Teva, the sandal company. Many of us know it as Teva, but it's actually Teva, for 15 years. And early on in my career, I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and it changed my life because I discovered what passive income was, and then I wanted it. And then I just had to figure out how to get it. And you know, what I read was basically start a business, delegate everything, retire on a beach. Got Baja, I mean, but I'm not retired. But I choose not to be, which is a difference of, you know, choosing to work is a totally different feeling every day. So I realized back then, 11 years ago, that I didn't want to trade my time for money. I wanted passive income, but I didn't know how to do it. And so I got into real estate. My husband and I started buying single and multifamily properties in Portland as renters. So we were still living in someone else's house, paying their mortgage, fixing up the first few houses, and you know, we had our first passive income check, and I was hooked. And I was just like, still working my Adidas job. Liz Picciotto was there with me, and yeah, I was hooked, and I was like, I got to teach other people how to do this. So I got my license while I was still doing the corporate thing. Continued building our portfolio, and then I decided I'm going out. I'm going to do real estate. I'm going for it. So that was 2014, so 11 years ago, right when we started investing. But my foundation was not solid enough yet, and so I had like a minor freak out and went back to Adidas like 18 months later. And you know, I just needed to keep building my foundation. I thought I was ready to ditch my W-2, but I hadn't juiced it enough yet. So I went back and kept juicing, and during that time I also house hacked. So my husband and I turned one of our rentals into a duplex for all intents and purposes. So we lived in a basement beneath a family of 6, so 4 girls under the age of 10 running around above us, screaming, crying, laughing, playing, and you know, but when you house hack and someone else is paying your mortgage and then some, it's really easy to save money. I thought I was going to have to wait till I retired to move to Bend, which was my ultimate goal, but you know, I was able to save up and start buying short-term rentals here, and got here sooner than I thought. So started the Central Oregon Investor Network here, built up my real estate business while I was still working at Teva, and Sarah and I joined forces at that point, and I had a nice off-ramp because I had built up my real estate business enough to say adios to corporate. And then in the last year, I've become a private money lender. So I've built, you know, we have built our portfolio of rental properties in Oregon, Michigan, and North Carolina, and we have a place in Baja. And I wanted more passive income because we started selling, and it was like, okay, now what do I do with this money? I didn't quite want to reinvest yet, so I started getting into private money lending, and that's why we are all here today to share what I've learned. So why do we invest in real estate? Anyone?
This is a real question, guys.
So make money?
Oh.
Okay, money. What kind of money do you want?
Yeah, but what does money buy you?
Easy money.
Yeah. More time. More free time. That's what I want.
Yes, yeah. That's it, right? We want the passive income, and that's the ultimate goal. Like, so many people that come in to work with Sarah and I to buy real estate are like, I want to replace my W-2 with real estate you know, with rental money from real estate so that I can get out and do more fun things. And so that's the goal. So, but it doesn't always happen that way. And this was me back in 2017, so I had already left and come back to Adidas. And this was another house that my W-2 bought us. And I was moving a mountain of bricks from a chimney we dropped in an old house on Southeast Gladstone Street in Portland. And like, you know, this is the time in our lives where like many of our friends were having families and, you know, doing that whole thing, and we started buying, and this is what we did with our time. And it was not active, you guys. I gave up weekends, evenings, vacations. Like every single year I make a calendar of all my photos, you know, and I send it to family, and there were a few years where I was just like scrapping. Like I had nothing fun to put in the calendar because I was doing this all day. But I'm smiling. It's just like level 2 fun. It's, you know what I mean? It's like the fun that you like look back and you're like, oh yeah, that's fun. I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore. But I think most of us have more something like this in mind when we're thinking about passive income. Elk Lake, stand-up paddleboard, sunshine, chilling, right? Like this is the dream. So, you know, there's a continuum of getting from one to the other. And there's a time and a place for both of these things in our lives, depending on where we're at on the scale of like finite resources, right? Time and money. When we have more time than money, we're wheelbarrowing bricks. When we have more money than, you know, when we have more money, we also can use our time differently. So it is a continuum, and the strategies that we employ also make up, they essentially go, what am I trying to say here? The strategies we employ also speak to like how much time we're investing in each thing. So like flips, who's done flips in here? You've done flips, Sarah's done flips, Sean's done flips. Anybody online? Any flips? Oh yeah, Christian, Marianne. So yeah, Christian's actually one of our fellow brokers here, and he's working on his house here in Bend as we speak, probably. So that takes a lot of time. The buy, renovate, refinance, repeat takes a lot of time, right? Because you've got the second R in there, which is renovate. Long-term and short-term rentals, those can take a little less time once you've got your tenants in place, your guests in place, and your systems. House hacking can be a little more passive. Private money lending, you got to learn how to do it right, and then it's pretty passive. And then Dave works on syndication. So Dave is a great resource for some of you that just are like, here's my money, I don't want to learn how to do this, I don't want to spend any time on this, like, here's my money, just send me a paycheck, you know, or send me, right?
Pretty much.
Send me my dividends or my...
Right. There's actually an interesting spin-off on P&L with syndication too, where you loan the at-risk money for a part of the management team.
Ooh. See, we'll have a lot to learn from Dave, and maybe Dave will speak
I'm still learning about that part too, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it would be great to have you speak in July. But, you know, this is, a lot of us have done some or all of these strategies. And here's my husband, Bill. Who joined us, and he got to live like the passive income dream this morning. What'd you do today?
Went fishing.
What time?
Well, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So, you know, is it always that great? No, but, you know, we hustle to get there. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you the story of, we'll call him Joe. Liz may know him by another name, but he's a former colleague of mine from Adidas who called me a couple of weeks ago, kind of out of the blue. And, you know, we didn't work that close together, but it was a pretty sad conversation. Bill was there, John was on speaker, Joe's on speaker, and Joe was having a tough time. Joe has been at Adidas for 18 years. So we probably started about the same time. And, you know, he's working 60-hour weeks, he's giving it his all, like we do in corporate. You know, you're going for the next title, the next performance review, the next bonus, the next whatever. And Joe had this to say to me. This place is sucking the soul out of me. And I mean, when we talked about this on our podcast recently, like it literally brought me to tears because I've been there. I've been Joe. I know exactly how he feels. And it's just like, how do I get out of this, you know? He's just like going from one meeting to the next email to the next meeting. And it's just like the hamster wheel that many of us feel like we're on, and that's why we turn to real estate and investing. So, you know, what's Joe's problem? Why is he getting the soul sucked out of him?
No freedom.
He doesn't have control over his schedule and what he's doing.
Yeah.
Still get to do it like Joe and John.
Joe might have a good idea. Yes. Yeah, exactly. He has no freedom. Joe does not have a plan B. He has to, he's in this cycle of trading his time for money, right? Everything rides on his corporate paycheck. If he stops going to work, he doesn't get a paycheck. And he has no passive income. So he just wakes up every day and is just like, how do I get out of this? And that's where we ended up on an hour-long phone call a couple weeks ago. And, you know, so what is his solution? His solution is what we're talking about in this room. It's investing in some sense. And my advice to Joe after an hour is like, let's spin this around. Like, let's get out of the misery and think about your job as your tool. What if your paycheck can buy your freedom? You know, how can you turn all these wonderful things that keep us feeling secure and rewarded and all these things that, you know, we play the game to get, you know, how can we turn those things into freedom generating assets that produce the ultimate, which is the passive income. So, you know, my advice to him was like, you know, you've got your salary, you just got your bonus because it gets paid in March. You have your 401k at Adidas, you can borrow from your 401k for 6 months with no penalty. It's, you know, probably a lot of people can. You've got stock options, restricted stock units, long-term incentive programs for leadership, deferred comp. Like there's all these things that we have when we're in corporate, and like look to those things as a way to dig yourself out of this and like start leveraging those things now before you know, like have to go on leave or something. And so he needs to invest his money to buy back his time, right? Real estate at the beginning is going to be active for him. He's thinking about maybe doing a live-in flip. He could invest in the stock market more than he's already doing with his 401k. It's passive-ish, right? He's probably just clicking on the whatever, you know, index fund or some kind of Vanguard thing and not really looking into it, but just like hoping like we all do, right? At least that's what I do. And then lending is much more passive once you get past the learning curve. So that's Joe, and my advice to Joe is, dude, just juice your W-2. Did you juice your W-2 before you left?
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing I did to juice it was to realize that I'm going to be able to get cheap bank loans easier with W-2 than without one. So HELOCs, while you have a W-2, is a big lever that you can pull.
You don't need a W-2 for a HELOC. You need a mortgage.
But yeah, I was in the same boat. I didn't know either when I was there. I had no idea. I thought I was never going to get a loan again after I left corporate. And like now I know way better because we have great lenders in our community and people doing lots of creative things. So juice the W-2, Joe. And you know, drain it dry. Like use that steady income to get your bank loans, use your bonus for your rehab money, use your 401k to become a lender. Choose which project, maybe, you know, while he's waiting to find his live-in flip, because the best deals are really found in winter, Joe should probably be doing a short-term, you know, private money loan for a few $1,000. Oh, hi, Emma. When you have a second, will you grab a power supply for my
Yeah.
Thank you. So anyways, yeah, he needs another reason to get himself out of bed in the mornings, because what he told me on the phone the other day was like, I think I only got like a couple weeks left, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I was like, dude, you just need something to look forward to and get you out of the office at 5 o'clock, right? Like, you get it. So, the cool thing about lending, what I love about it, is it helps you nights, evenings, weekends, vacations, right? So, I promise we're getting into the fun stuff, the lending stuff. So, it's lending and not landlording. Another one of my dear Adidas colleagues, one of his favorite quotes is, ain't nobody got time for that. And, you know, yeah, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but not when you're working 60-hour weeks and you're just like running on fumes. So, lending, how do you do this? Like, the first thing you have to do is find people doing deals. And that's the first hurdle you have to overcome. And this room right here is a great place. So we already know one person sitting in here that is doing a deal that, you know, needs some funds. He'll pitch his deal to anyone that's interested. So you go to meetups, you go to real estate investing association events. Maybe within your community, if you go to church or you have some other community, neighbors, you know. We all get together for potlucks. Maybe you know someone that's going to be doing a project soon and they're going to need some funds. Your family is a great resource for people doing deals. You know, like you're probably going to be doing deals and you know, buying projects and needing some funding at some point. So, you know, and then folks like us, like having the right realtors that you know that can connect you to the people that are finding deals and need money. Facebook groups, another place. And then coaches, like these are more in the paid space, the Facebook groups and coaches, if you really want to get like quality people doing deals. So it takes time to find this stuff, right?
Time and money. I mean, those coaches aren't cheap.
yeah, for sure. And then you have to figure out where your money's coming from. So we talked about the corporate sources, and then, you know, for those that are self-employed or retired, if you're retired, you know, maybe you're drawing down on your IRAs and you're having to take your RMDs, your required minimum distributions. Maybe you've already put your money into a self-directed IRA, so that's a great way to leverage the money that has been, you know, building for you in your 401k. You roll it over in a self-directed IRA. Any Roth portion, your money grows tax-free. Like you invested in real estate, all the profits are tax-free when it's in a Roth, in a self-directed IRA. Cash savings, maybe, you know, some of us are at the age where we're inheriting things from family members or otherwise, and many of us also have HELOCs and other places to pull equity from, right? So it's about connecting people doing deals with money. It's it's super simple.
Whole life insurance.
Oh, that's a great one. Yes, whole life insurance is another one, where you can borrow from your cash value life insurance, lend it out at a higher rate, and then put it back in with the added return on your investment. So, again, like anything in real estate, in life, you know, do you want the passive way or do you want the active way? There's two ways to do it, and like YouTube University is absolutely a thing. And then there's also the community that we have, right? So there can be a way to learn quickly, but there's a lot to it, like I said, and we'll get into the nitty gritty. So you can go DIY style, or what we'll talk about a little bit later is like, let us bring the deals to you. Like we've got one here in the room. I got one in my email yesterday. Another one came in this morning. You know, so we have answers. If you're like ready to just jumpstart and get rolling on this, we can help you. But let's talk about what smart deals look like. And any questions so far? No? Okay. Smart deals. Okay. So first we gotta know what our terms are. And I don't know everybody's level of investor terminology yet, so I'm just gonna go through some of the basics. ARV, this is our starting point for anything in real estate, is knowing your after repair value. So you want to have at least two numbers here. You have 5 options. Your borrower should be sending you their ARV. It's always going to be optimistic, at least in my experience. And then you run your own. So, you know, all of us have access to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, tax records. You know, there's a lot of other free resources out there that I use to run my ARVs. And then you have options for things you might want to pay for. So maybe you make your borrower pay for an appraisal. They'll do that. Like, they want to borrow your money, they're going to jump through some hoops. Like, it's so much easier than a bank. You know, any private money lender, it's like 9-day difference from dealing with a bank. So yeah, maybe you make them pay for an appraisal. BPO is a broker's price opinion, which is like one notch down from an appraisal, generally cheaper, like $150. But you can do something like that. Again, ask your borrower to pay for it. And then if you have awesome realtor friends, or your borrower has a realtor that they always use to sell their flips or their wholesales, those realtors can be running CMAs and those are free. I mean, we do those all the time. So you want to have at least 2 data points here to determine the value of the property, and take the lower one, would be my advice. And then what you do with the value is you look at loan to value. So higher loan to value is riskier, right? That's why banks want at least 20% down to get you to 80% LTV, because if you have more skin in the game, it's less risky for them. The lower the LTV, the safer it is for us as lenders. So, you know, I've lent on some that are like 50%, you know, which is great for me because I'm like, sweet, I'm first position on this property. If something goes down, like I've got a property worth double what I'm into it, okay, I'm good with those terms. And then the other cool thing is points. This, you know, for those of us who have gotten many bank loans, we have a former lender, a current lender, another lender, okay, in addition to Sean. You guys charge origination fees, right? So that is money that goes right into your pockets as a banker, as a private money lender. As soon as that loan closes, that money goes into your pocket. And you get paid as soon as the loan closes, and those points can increase your ROI pretty nicely right out of the gate. So we love points. And then lien position. This is the big one. You know, all of our lenders in the room, you're always first position, right? You guys don't ever do any second. No. Do you guys take second position?
Depends. I mean, I've seen some third.
Really? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So seniority in the deal as a lender is important. You want to be near the top of the food chain, right? If something goes down and the property, you know, the borrower defaults, stops paying, if you're second position or lower, you get kind of just what is left over at the buffet. So, you know,
Yes.
and
I would take the issue with that. It's not necessarily true.
okay.
You can, like, if they default on the second, you can foreclose from second position and then sub to the first, and then you just have to pay the first and you have the property.
Sure. Okay. I haven't been there and I haven't done that yet, so that's good to know. Yeah. So there are ways, even in second position, where you can recoup your capital and then some. I'm not an expert in every single state. Laws vary by state. What I have heard and understand is that in some places like Texas, second position is basically meaningless. And so, I don't know, you know, but take that for what it's worth. Just know if you're going to be lending outside of the area where you are located, you need to understand the laws and your rights as a lender in that state. Third and beyond is generally not recommended unless you're really savvy and nuanced as a private lender, and I think that is something that can come in time. I'm not there yet, you know, but certainly there are people that lend in third position, especially institutions that have more capital to back them up. And you know, maybe there's other ways that they're securing their loans. So exit strategy is also really important. We talked about this on that time continuum earlier, right? So exit strategy is the time continuum for you as a lender. Because if someone is wholesaling, they want in and out of that deal fast, right? They only want your money for like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months max. Same with a wholesale, which is basically where a wholesaler finds a deal, they bring it to us as a realtor and say, hey realtor, we want you to sell this on the open market instead of us just trying to assign it to another investor. We want to get more money out of it. And then we basically assign our contract between us and the seller to that end buyer. That's, in some places it's called a novation, in some places it's called a wholesale. Those happen fast. Flips, minimum 6 months probably, unless you Bill. Sometimes Bill does it in 3 months. And I just dangle the carrot of a vacation at the end. That's how we've done it a few times. The BRRRRs and the lease options, right? These are all long-term rental situations. So, you know, these people are probably gonna have to refi out of your loan with a DSCR loan, with a traditional bank loan, something like that. Or maybe they, you know, like Cherie, many of you have met Cherie, she does a lot of lease options and her terms are 5 years. So she wants deals, you know, private money for 5 years. So then, yeah, let's talk about a vanilla deal. Any questions so far on any of the terms or any of that Straightforward? Okay. All right. This is pretty much like basic. We could lend on this any day, all day. It's going to satisfy the majority of private money lenders, you know, buy boxes or lend boxes. So max 75% of as-is value. Generally, you know, the way we're doing it is 1 to 4 units, only residential. The reason I only do residential is it's what I know. It's easier to comp. There's more tools available to me, Redfin, and all of you. Like, as a realtor, I have some other tools I can use, but, you know.
It's what you know, and there's more end buyers as well, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure. Yeah, exactly. And 1 to 4 units, you can still, your borrower can more easily refi into a traditional or conventional loan. We have done 100% rehab funds, so Justin's actually looking for $350,000 for a rehab that he's doing in Sun River on a deal that Brady bought him, and the numbers support it for the deal that he's looking at. So, you know, he's gonna be looking for someone to fund his rehab on this really cool property in Sun River. 65 to 80% of ARV, but you know, you're only going to go up to that higher risk level of 80% when you have more experienced borrowers, people with a track record, maybe you've got a relationship with them. Your ideal comfort zone is lending around 70% of ARV, I think. Again, it's going to vary by all of us and our risk tolerance. And you know, a lot of people that we talk to are really wanting twice a year turns with their money. So 6 months is ideal. So they're wanting to work with those wholesalers, those wholetalers. Some flippers can get it done in 6 months, and they sometimes will extend to 12 months if they need to, or you know, give it a little extra for maybe some more points. But the goal is to turn your capital twice a year, so you're making more money on your money. Questions on this? Anyone online? Any questions?
seeing hands.
No hands. Okay. So we'll just give a quick example. Off-market flip, someone wants 100K, the ARV is 150, you've got your comfortable LTV, you get first position for 6 months, you get 12% paid monthly, interest only, and that gets paid, and then 2 points paid at closing. So very, very basic deal, right? So how does this come out in terms of ROI? Well, return, you get $2,000 right here at closing, and then every month for those 6 months, you're putting another $1,000 in your pocket, you know, and at the end, you're gonna get your 100K back, which is awesome. So you're getting $8,000 total, or 16% annualized, which is pretty good. You know, like, are you getting that in the stock market? In something that you can't control, like this year, you know, every time, like, I don't even look anymore. I just like, ugh, I can't. But you know, I love looking at my private money lending spreadsheet because, like, yeah, all that money I know is very likely to come back to me. So some of you have heard this at the last deal, the last one I talked about in March. But my first private money deal was killer. Like, it was awesome. I was working with a super experienced borrower who was like, hey, I know that the more money my lender makes, the more they have to lend to me next time, which is like, we love borrowers like this, you know, not everyone thinks that way. But he bought the property for $25,000. He asked me for $28,000. He wanted to keep his marketing going so he could keep bringing me more deals. And I'm like, absolutely, because, you know, he showed me the comps. This place was worth, I think he only said it was worth like 55. It was well within my comfort zone to loan him 28. He ended up selling it for almost $65,000. I paid a $150 closing fee, but we did something really, really cool with this deal. It was not just your 12% interest, 2 points, blah, blah, blah. Those are fine, vanilla, great. This was like rocky road with all the sprinkles. It was great because he was like, how about we JV on this? You get first position, minimum. Out of your 28K, you're gonna get $6,000 back no matter what happens. Like, of course, that's a no-brainer, right? So, but he also said, anything above the 28 that I brought in, I would get 30% of the profit for whatever he sold it for. So I was just like, oh, this is genius. So I lent 5 figures, and I got back another 5 figures. So I got just over $11,000 back on a $28,000 loan. Like, this was, I mean, no wonder I'm teaching this class. Like, yeah, it was awesome.
Suzanne was hooked.
Like, you know, has it happened since? Not yet, but it will, you know, because, yeah, borrowers get savvy to the fact that, like, the happier they make you as a lender, like, the more times you're going to be like, yes, take my money.
What was in it for the borrower? Why did they give you that versus just borrowing the $28,000?
That's a great question. He does hundreds of deals every year, and he just wants to keep his lenders happy. So that's his strategy. Is just, you know, be the one that we hold funds for. Basically,
Yeah.
he wants to be that person. Yeah. So you know, like if he came to me tomorrow and wanted a loan, like I would find the money for him.
I mean, I think that's a really good point. It's relationship once again, which is something that you can't buy. Like this is the community. Like it's like Suzanne said in the beginning. It's like people who want to buy, who lend money, and people who want to borrow money. You know, all coming together. But yeah. Relationship. That's why.
Absolutely.
Would that be uncommon to make that part of your terms as the lender to want that percentage? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
for
uncommon
sure.
to
Yes.
ask for that. Or...
So subsequently, when people have come to me for loans, I've asked, you know, like, hey, and on this one, so I'll tell you here,
so you can use that.
these guys, also in Kentucky, they had a wholesale, so they were buying it as wholesalers. They knew there was a lot of value in it. It almost needed nothing, like paint and maybe some HVAC or something. You know, so they were buying it for $217. They wanted $230 from me to pay for all the stuff they were going to do, but pretty minimal. And their comps for it were over $300,000, which it absolutely was worth over $300,000. But they sold it super fast using a realtor below market value. So you know, I looked at their numbers and I was like, oh, you know, can I get a piece of this? And they were like, no. Okay, fine. At least I asked. You know, maybe next time they'll say yes. But the cool thing was, like, they sold it super fast. So 2.5 months later, on my kind of basic vanilla thing, first position, 12% interest, I did negotiate a 3-month minimum. So it wasn't, you know, in 2.5 months, I didn't get cut out of a half a month. I got my full 3 months. So I got $6,900, which is 13% annualized in 2.5 months. So I was pretty happy. I mean, still double digits, first position on a house that had a ton of equity in it. So yeah, great question.
Any points in this deal?
No, I haven't. No points in this deal. Yeah. How did I find a borrower? That is a great question. It's a community that I am in. So a mastermind that I've joined, and everyone in that community has paid 5 figures to be in there. So all of these folks are being trained by an expert in creative finance, real estate investing. And so they're, you know, I joined the mastermind thinking that's what I was gonna do, and then like, I don't have time for that. So, so I carved out my niche as a private money lender. And so this is why we're here, right? I became the private money lender in that group, and now like all these like 60 people plus, that's like just the mastermind, and then outside of that, there's this whole other group are coming to me with tons of deals. And like, I wish I had all the money to lend, but I don't. But hopefully some of you do. So that's really what I want to help, is like connecting people with money with people who are doing deals. So, but these people, like, they're experienced borrowers, you know, have a track record and all the things. So, yeah.
Did you need to be an accredited investor for this?
No, you don't. And you might be able to talk a little bit more about accredited investors for syndications.
It's basically a SEC requirement for accreditation. So there's real 2 ways. You have $1 million in assets, not including your private home.
I understand. I guess for this particular, I'm curious if you had to have that status, basically, or
generally the accredited portion comes in when you start dealing with portions of an LLC type membership, where it's more considered securities versus loans and private lending. So that doesn't fall necessarily under the SEC guidelines.
Excellent.
Yeah. And what we're doing is we're educating people on private money lending and bridging the relationship. We're not brokering deals, so we don't have any requirement for SEC or accreditation. So because we're not SEC regulated. So essentially, what we're doing with people that are joining us is determining these lender profiles. And all of us, you know, we can look through this list and start to identify, this is going to be on your what's next list, you know, what meets your goals? Like, you know, for you, if this is personal interest, like, you know, are you working to get out of your W-2 at some point, you know, maybe? And if so, you know, what we had talked about back in March with the kick corporate discussion is figuring out how much money you need in passive income to replace your W-2 income. That's just kind of your baseline, right? That's your freedom number. So figuring out your passive income goal and then working back into that. So the other thing you want to think about is location. Do you only want to lend in the place where you are because you know the market better? I don't know Kentucky that well, like, but I can go online and find tools and resources and, you know, news articles and things like that. So I felt confident investing in Kentucky. I have lent in Texas. Texas has a lot of really weird rules, but I did it anyways. You know, but then there are some people that only lend where they live. That's fine. You have to figure out how many, you know, what funds you have available, what sources you're pulling from. Property types, you know, what do you want to be investing in? Residential, commercial, land, ground up builds, all the things. Like, you got to decide what works for you. What exit strategies do you want to work with? Are you only working with wholesalers? Do you only want to work with people that are doing long-term lease options? You know, think about those types of things. And the duration, you know, it's kind of driven by the exit strategy. And then, what's your minimum interest rate and point structure? For the most part, within private money lending, what we're seeing now is 12% is a minimum. Most people are charging 12% and 2 points. That's pretty standard. As interest rates change, you know, those numbers go up and down. But that's pretty standard for right now. Lien position, we already talked about a little bit. And then deal structure. So like I was saying, you know, the rocky road with sprinkles on top, like doing the super fun JV deals, getting an equity share, being an actual partner, so having ownership, which can play into some tax strategies as well for you. And then there's other things where I've just done some loans where it's like 70 grand, you pay me 7,000 in 6 months, no matter what. Like, I'm not gonna do interest, I'm not gonna calculate it, it's just like a flat fee. So there's so many ways to do it, which is so fun. That's what I love about it. It's really creative, and it's just really up to you and the borrower to figure out like what meets both of your goals. And this is our like very basic intake form for our borrowers. So when they come to us and they're like, hey Suzanne, I've got a deal, I send them this quick little Google form, and they have to give me their name, property address, property type, purchase price, ARV, exit strategy, timeline, funds needed, and lien position. And that just helps me quickly scan through and figure out, is this a deal that's gonna work for me or some of our investors or not? And then after that, we get into more of the nitty gritty. But these are the basics, right? We're only going through the basics today. But the big question, I think, for a lot of people is like, all right, this sounds great. Like 39% in 4 months, like, yes, where do I sign up? But is it safe? And just like everything, right? Safe it's a continuum. And you know, how have we all been feeling about the stock market this year? Does it feel like a safe place to put your money? Is Bitcoin a safe place to put your money? It's up to you, you know. Safe is relative. So that's just what I have to say about that. But the thing that I love, having control freak tendencies, right? Is that you get to control how you protect yourself. That's the cool part here. Like you know, when you're investing in the stock market or giving money, you know, to Bitcoin and all the things, it's just like you put it out there and they decide what they're gonna do with it. Here, you get a minimum of the top two, promissory note and mortgage, to protect your capital. So for those that don't know, these can be new terms for a lot of people. Promissory note is the private document between the lender and the borrower that details out all the juicy details, your terms, your length, your position, your JV structure, all the things, right? And then that gets recorded in the mortgage, which is then publicly available, that just shows the amount of the lien that you have against that property. But it puts the public on notice that if that property ever sells, you are to get paid. Some people also give a personal guarantee. So Cherie, who's another member of our community here, She's come to me for funding. She offers a personal guarantee. She's putting up her own assets as collateral in addition to the property to secure the loan. Another interesting thing is assignment of rents. You can have your borrower sign an assignment of rents document before you ever wire them the money that says that if they default, you inherit the lease, the tenants, and the rents. So immediately if they default, you start collecting all those checks. And the last one, very rare, confession of judgment. Definitely not enforceable in some states, including Oregon. You cannot enforce it here. But it's a psychological thing where essentially the borrower signs a form saying, I am guilty of whatever, of defaulting on this loan. And you just like file that away for if you ever have to use it. And you can decide if you want to use it, but there's like at least 5 ways you can protect yourself here with documents that are, attorney reviewed and pretty serious deal. So I like that because it gives me more control. We already talked about seniority mattering in terms of position, and these are the 2 that I would recommend. Third, I don't know, maybe. What do you guys land on third?
I was Hilo.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Suzanne, have you ever had to exercise your position with a lien?
No.
Okay. And have you ever heard of anybody doing that? Like, has that gone pretty smooth? Or, like anyone in your community? Or?
Have you?
I did. They kind of accidentally got 3 years behind on their payments.
Oof.
But it was frustrating, but they did sign the property over as a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So they signed the property over to me. And crazy enough, all the back interest, they took that on a second on a commercial property. So I didn't even lose anything and I got the property. But the position to be in there, foreclosure we could have done, but they just signed it over. I mean, they were doing the best they could and they just couldn't do it. So they signed over the property. And then we just sold it. We were able to sell the property.
So they just took the loss.
Yeah.
And did you have to get attorneys involved at all? Or?
No. My wife screamed and cried a lot at me, and that was the attorney that I had was subject to. But no, but it was good. I mean, they were doing the best they could, and they signed the property over it. I mean, we thought it was worth more than it was, but at least it covered the amount of the loan, and all the interest was put elsewhere. That was unusual, that second part. But the deed in lieu of foreclosure is a very realistic way to get it, as long as there's some equity there.
Right.
It's realistic, but it's very rare. It's very rare, and I would say that security, there's a lot that can go haywire, and it's important to know state to state, like which states are judicial states and non-judicial states, which ones are lender friendly and which ones are, borrower friendly, which ones are landlord friendly, which ones are tenant friendly, because even if you foreclose, it doesn't mean that they're going to be out of the house. You still have to evict. So, like in Texas, you can foreclose in, I think about 30 days, might be 60. Indiana, 540. And then, Indiana's judicial, so it's got to go in front of a judge, you need a lawyer. The cost of eviction might, it might run in the high 4 digits, whereas Texas might be in the low 4 digits. If everything goes right, if they don't declare bankruptcy, and then if they do declare bankruptcy, you've got to know what you can and cannot talk to them about, because you can blow yourself just right then and there by violating the terms of bankruptcy.
Lots to learn, and that's the thing. Is it's great done well, and we'll talk about the worst case scenario in just a second. Well, let me just go there. Yeah, worst case. They pay you points at closing, ideally, right? You're getting your 2 points, money in your pocket. You're getting monthly interest. You got monthly interest for a while, right, Sean? And then something happens. The buyer defaults. You foreclose, or in your lucky case, you got a deed in lieu of foreclosure, so you didn't have any attorney fees. But oftentimes you'll have attorney fees for evictions and all the things. And ideally you've got stated in your promissory note, that private document between you and the borrower, that you can recover those fees, hopefully. And then you get the house and maybe the rent. So what did you do when you got the house?
We fixed it up and sold it. Yeah, they spent $5,000 and turned around and sold the house.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
so
your
it turned
first
out,
thing.
it was a good investment, it was a good investment overall. It was frustrating for a little while there, but it was good, and we had a good, first lien position, so, yeah, I mean, I was all for it. Made 12% on it over the years, so,
Nice.
How long were you in it?
about 5 years.
Do you guys run title meetings?
Yes, yeah, we do. Good question. Okay, so, is it safe? What do you guys think?
It's safer the more you know about it.
Yeah.
Nothing's 100% safe.
Yeah.
Your money is safe with me.
Yeah, and this is the big question, my sister, she and her husband did a private money loan to a friend 20 years ago, and things went south, and they ended up with a house in Medford that they didn't want, so she's just turned off about it from that experience, and is she ever going to give it another shot? I don't know, but she doesn't feel like it's safe, but, again, it's a continuum.
But that house in Medford is worth more now than it
Yeah,
was 20 years
no
ago.
kidding, I know. Yeah, John, in Ben, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. Good stuff. I have a question. It's definitely passive in the sense that you're not actively working to get the income, but from a tax standpoint, it's not passive in that you can use suspended passive losses to offset it. So, with the income that you get from this, do you get 1099 from the borrower?
Yes. Yeah, and you don't have, that's one of the Q&A questions later. Unless you have an equity position, like you're a partner, a co-owner of the property, you don't get the depreciation aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the downside, right? So, for people that are trying to do rep status and all the fun things that we do for taxes, it's a good strategy to employ in addition to, just for that income piece, and then ideally you can use some of your bonus depreciation to offset some of that income.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Remember Joe? John? Joe? So Joe, what do you think about Joe for private money lending? How much time does Joe, our 60-hour-a-week friend, have to learn to become a private money lender and get passive income? Based on my conversation with him, it didn't sound like a lot of time, because he still wants to have a bit of a life. But he's got some questions, and these are questions that all of us as prospective private money lenders need to ask ourselves. How much time is this going to take me? Am I going to go the DIY route? Am I going to go, the coach, please help me, bring me deals route? Both have their place. How do I find those trusted borrowers? That's what you asked me, right? How do you find these people that you feel good wiring money to? How do I analyze deals? Not all of us do this every day, all day, and know all the terms and how to find the numbers. How do I know when I've got a good deal? That's a very valid question as well. And the most important thing that we've just been talking about is how do you protect yourself and what documents do you use, and do you just go on Google or ChatGPT? Is that good enough? I don't know. I don't think I would trust ChatGPT for this, but we do use it for a lot. But not legal documents. And again, we're back to this, right? You want to go the easy, skip ahead, don't make all the expensive mistakes yourself, but learn from people that have skipped ahead themselves, or do you want to DIY? It's totally up to you. But we have a solution for you. I already introduced it. Primo. This is private lending done for you, bringing real deals, real returns, and the support that you need to the borrowers that are ready to do good deals, because a lot of us want to be in the game but not consumed by it. We want to spend time fishing, going to Baja, going to Disneyland like Sarah just did last week, we want to have our toe in the water, but not spend all of our waking hours figuring out how to do it or flipping properties. So that is what we've got. So Joe, if Joe is going to sign up for Primo, this is what he could expect. 2 exclusive deal opportunities that align with his lender profile. So we go through, we do his lender profile, we bring him deals that match exactly what he's looking for, as close as possible anyways. We give attorney review templates, guides, and checklists. We have for Joe vetted borrower introductions and those community connects so that he's not spending time on Facebook groups and meetups and RIAs and all the things that take a lot of time. He's just being introduced to borrowers who want to borrow his money and pay it back to him with extra. And strategy and support on deal review and preparing him to be ready to lend. So that is what Joe gets. But what does Joe have to give? We know Joe doesn't have very much time. But he wants something to get him out of bed in the morning. So maybe he's really excited to come to a 1-hour webinar once a week and learn about this stuff and start getting better at it. So that's what we do is we commit to once a week, weekly coaching, deal review, live deal review, and then we also have communication. He also has to give us timely communication because as we all know, these deals come in and they go fast. You cannot dilly-dally when you're communicating with borrowers because they're on to the next. They gotta wrap these things up. We have 72 hours at the most usually. And then the willingness to ask questions and learn by doing. And as I will be 100% transparent, I haven't done it all. I haven't had to take a property from somebody. I haven't done some of the stuff you've done. I've never done notes yet. So are we still learning? Absolutely. And that's why I pay a lot of money for coaching. It's just what I do. I like to learn and I like to share what I learn. So he also gets unlimited access to our documents. And then once that connection is made with the borrower, we are not the gatekeepers. That is a relationship that has been established. Those guys can, lend and borrow and do deals together as much as they want. That's the thing. We're not brokering deals here. We're bringing a community together. We're educating people, both borrowers and lenders, and helping everyone create more passive income. So, this is what, I need to learn how to use this. He gets his lender profile, 3 months of weekly coaching calls with yours truly, attorney review templates, that's the big one for protecting ourselves, right? And some of these are ad hoc things that can be had outside of just the whole package, but he also gets, oh my gosh, step-by-step curriculum. We have 8 learning modules to walk through all the steps of becoming a private money lender. So what we've talked about today, but diving deep in all these things and answering a lot of the what-if questions, because just like when we're selling real estate, every single transaction is different, every time. I've never had one be the same. Doing deal analysis, and really the biggest value is connecting with people that are doing a lot of deals, good deals, people who will overpay for your money, that's pretty darn valuable. And then finally, those 2 exclusive lending opportunities that align with the risk profile, because everyone has something different. And then because I'm part of the mastermind that I am, I also have 2 tickets that Joe can use to go to an October and ongoing in-person events to just actually meet these people in person and talk to them. I think there's so much value in that. That's why we love doing what we do here in this room and also with all of you online. Meeting people face to face, whether it's on Google Meet or Zoom in the room, is just so important and makes us feel more confident when we're lending money to people. So it's about relationships, as Sarah said. It's worth a lot, especially when you're not, ideally when you're, learning and not making mistakes the expensive way. Some of us learn that way, and some of us like to leapfrog and just learn from other people. And again, I pay for a lot of coaching, so these numbers don't scare me. We're starting. We have students signed up. We have people that are in the Primo community, people starting. I have my module 1 going tomorrow with our first lenders. Super exciting. So we are offering this to anyone in this room, anyone online, anyone on Facebook Live, for just under 10 grand. And the first folks that signed up with us, they were like, yeah, our first loan, we want to basically pay for our investment. And totally doable. I did that on my first loan. Is every loan that good? No, we've talked about that. But after that, it will be going up. There's a lot of value to what we're bringing to the community. And again, as I said, it's mostly about learning how to do this well, how to do it smart, how to protect your money, and how to be connected to a community of people doing really good deals. So there you go. What's next? What is next? Okay. going to start thinking about where our funds are coming from. Is it our savings? Is it our HELOCs that we need to call one of these lenders about? Is it, an inheritance that's coming up? Or maybe you're selling a property that has a ton of equity and you want to put it to use. And then determining your lender profile according to those 8 or so criteria so you know where you are in the risk tolerance. So you can decide if Primo is right for you. This is not a hard sales pitch, you guys. But we want you to know that there is a solution if you just want to get going on this. And we will give you, anyone that signs up, we'll send you all our PML, Private Money Lender Starter Kit, which is a few documents that will just get you going so you can start asking those questions of yourself, of prospective borrowers in your community, the meetups that you go to, all those other things, so you can be thinking about what you want to do next with private money lending. So that was a lot. What are your questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Say, what would you suggest someone have ready to lend? Like, what would be a minimum amount of money to be ready to lend?
You can start with a very small amount of money if you're just doing earnest money deposit, transactional things. If you just have 1,000, 2,000, whatever. I would say to do some of the bigger, to help someone with a deal like these ones in Kentucky and that are happening. People actually buy houses in the Midwest for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, which to us is crazy. But I would say 20.
Yeah.
20 is a baseline.
You start making a little bit of money.
Yeah, and it could be rehab money. It could be money to actually to buy the house. Yeah, good question. You don't have to have millions or even 6 figures to do it. And that's what I love about it too. You can just kind of start from where you're at.
What would you say is the average loan request size that comes through?
I don't know if there is an average.
Yeah.
We've had, you'd say 50? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, fair. Yep.
How often are you getting those requests?
Oh man, a lot.
More than
They
you can
roll
handle,
in
that's for sure.
frequently. And if I put something out to my community, I would have probably at least 20 people ready to go. Both within just individual investors that are doing individual deals, and then there's also things like syndications that Dave does that, they're opening and closing and, have their funding deadlines as well. So unlimited opportunity for lending, for sure.
So did you say you have a surplus of lenders or a surplus of borrowers?
Surplus of borrowers.
Okay.
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
I just had a question for Dave. What's the average length of time that somebody invests in what you're selling?
It depends on the syndication, particularly. I'm working a capital raise right now where they're advertising. It's a multifamily asset, like apartments. The 2x multiplier over 5 years, so it's already switched to an accredited investor profile. So and that's $100,000 minimum buy-in for that kind of. But I have also run across, not always a syndication, but sometimes shady deals. Lower buy-in point. Syndication depends on the sponsor running it, and they tend to progress from a lower buy-in amount, kind of a friends and family deal, which we call a 506 Bravo, where anybody can buy in. Those usually start anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 buy-ins, and then once they hit the accredited investor level, which is a 506C rule, that tends to be, I see kind of on average 50. I've seen 50,000 a couple times, but 100,000 mainly is usually buying point.
So if somebody, somebody defaults, is there a whole system in place to handle that? The investor, if I were to invest in that, I wouldn't really get involved in that. That's all taken care of.
So as a LP limited partner, which is what you guys would be, if you're coming in as a syndication, the key there is to read the PPM and know the team.
Which is the private placement.
Yes, so that explains exactly how your rights as an LP in terms of how do I get my money back if we fail, what type of voting rights do I have in this deal, all that kind of stuff. So it explains the whole, and it's a long document. Right. So, but they kind of generally flow the same way, generally speaking, but states are different. It's just like anywhere else, right? Depends on where the asset's at. Certain rules have certain states that you have to include and so on and so forth. But the turnaround time in syndication is going to be longer, typically, because it's a commercial style investment.
Right.
I've seen as short as 3 years. Hey, I got a guy I'm working with now, he's like, hey, you want to invest? It's like a 2 or 3x multiplier for your equity investment in a 3-year time frame, 2 to 3 year time frame.
Mhm.
That's more of an ALF deal, which I know you're working, which is great. Assisted living, sorry, ALF is assisted living facilities or senior living facilities. Those types of
And
things.
is this all over the country?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys work with anybody that brokers like 1031s into
Mhm.
syndication?
Yeah, I've seen, so there's any number of ways that folks can come into deals. The 1031s, people, you want to talk to the sponsor about that because some people are adverse to 1031 exchange into the deals. You can come in through your self-directed IRAs, 401ks, stuff like that. Cash, of course, any number of ways. Borrowings, well, we don't kind of frown upon borrowing and stuff. But there's also a way to come, I mentioned earlier, kind of, I call it private money lending. I was offered the opportunity a month and a half ago to come in and lend the E&D money, the earnest money, on an apartment deal. When they wanted like 150 total for 10% of the management portion of that. So that's one way to put yourself in a deal on a short-term turnaround, which is anywhere from 60 to 90 days. Ideally, when they close, you get your earnest money back, and then you're taking the passive 10% from the management team on that, which is a whole other variety of rules there and how that gets done exactly. But you have an equity position with all the tax benefits that come through too. So that's the one difference between like the private lending approach versus the E&D money approach. But you know, I've seen as low as like I was talking to the gal the other day. She's loaned $30,000 for E&D to 5% of the deal. Those types of things. So it's just a different scale on how you get involved in syndications.
How are you secured on earnest money deposit? The deal doesn't close.
That you work out with the team typically. So how you
Cross-collateralize on something else?
What's that?
Cross-collateralize on something else?
Possibly. Could be cash. You know, any number. Sometimes they close out on the asset and it's not a pretty closing. They manage to pull it off and then they capital raise after to get you money back. That's one way to do it too. So oftentimes the capital raise doesn't necessarily stop when closing's done. There'll be capital raise for repairs or additional closing costs where they have a bridge loan, stuff like that. So
I see a new meetup happening.
Oh, I know.
Day one, coming at you in July.
And here's the thing is that with the syndication thing, it's completely 100% team-based. And for me, I work the capital portion of that, capital raising portion of that. So I am not an expert on other things like the asset management portion of that for folks that have come from the property management background. So I can generally answer questions, or like the sponsor role, he's the guy that signs on the loan, he's the guy that has the assets to sign on the loan. And literally, you know, we've seen it turn more towards, hey, they want everybody on the management team to sign on the loan. Everybody's like, I don't want to do that, type of thing, makes you responsible for it. So it's just, it's like creative financing, just like you guys are experiencing. There's a lot of creative ways to do it, and how you either enter, or how you invest, or how you get involved and stuff like that. You can go on the manager side and the LP side. You can stick with the LP side. It just depends. But in my experience, the team is the number one portion. Go ahead, Dave.
But kind of
sorry, I don't want to wait long on that. I apologize.
So the pool of possible borrowers, is that coming primarily from your mastermind community, or is there?
And you know, now that the word is out, like once you tell someone you're a private lender, people find you. So I have folks outside of just that, but there's a lot within that community, which, you know, the fact that everyone in that community has paid 5 figures to be in there also gives me a lot higher level of confidence that they have assets to back them up. This is not, you know, their lives are not riding on this one deal. There's just a lot that goes into that. So.
And do you envision primarily short-term lending, you know, the twice a year with your money kind of programs, or are you looking at longer-term lending as well?
Both, yeah. Right now, we're not really focused on helping, like facilitating or educating about transactional lending, which is those earnest money deposits and that kind of stuff. There's a community for that, you know, already, and that's.
But would you fund something like Cherie's projects for 5 years?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Yeah, because she's paying 12% for 5 years. You know, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, from a passive income perspective.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So. Yeah, basically, I would say anything from, you know, a few months up to 5 years is kind of that span for private money lending, and it sounds like on the syndication side it's kind of 3 to 5 years. So private money lending, you know, if you really want your money in and out a little quicker, and maybe you just want it placed in between deals, you know, like you place it now in the summer so that you can buy something, you know, in the winter when prices are down. Like that can be your strategy of like employing your capital really strategically. to maximize what you've got and not have your capital just sitting.
Yeah, I've had, we sold the house and I've had $130,000 sitting in a bank account for 3 months, like, we could have just made some money with that money in the short term.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, any other questions? I know we're over time, I'm sure. We always are. Well, here I'll just. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Next week, you guys, for those who are in Bend or want to be in Bend, you can join us here back at this lovely office on Tuesday, the 24th. And every Tuesday thereafter until the end of August, from 4 to 6 p.m., we're doing Power Hour here in the office. And it'll be a lot like this. We have our guest speaker, Landon Moore, who's not related to me, but we share the same last name. He's an expert in sub-2 financing, creative financing. We talk theory, and then you go to work, which is super fun. So, like getting on the phones, networking with other investors, putting deals together. We've had a lot of people do deals together from these meetings, and so we're excited. We provide snacks and sometimes beer. So,
Is he local? Is he here?
no, he's from Arizona.
Okay.
He comes here in the summer, and so just kind of spends the summer here.
Great.
Yeah. So come join us, and then if you want to book some time with me to chat about any of what we've talked about today, whether it's like buying real estate, which we sell, talking about, you're welcome. This is my Calendly link, and we would love to continue the conversation. Just thank you all for being here, and I love all the info that we've shared that collectively has been shared here. So thanks to everyone who knows about stuff that I don't, like syndications and notes and foreclosing and all that other stuff. So yeah, appreciate you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.